this advice is actually to um, very similar to the advice that I would give for someone who is just looking to understand how they meet their spouse, uh, in general. And that is never, ever, ever abandon the Christian community. The Christian community is the best way to meet uh, your spouse, your potential spouse, and here's why. You avoid a lot of stress and risk involved when you compare that with meeting your spouse some other way. There's a lot of stress and risk involved when you step outside of the Christian community, or when you go to try to meet people, out somewhere, or maybe one on one, or just other ways, and you can expose yourself to things that risks as far as your safety, risks as far as temptations to compromise and sin, sexually, or different things like that. Risk of exposing yourself to the kind of people that you probably wouldn't have wanted to expose yourself to it had you known. So we don't want to abandon the Christian community as the best way to meet your spouse, the best way to meet your spouse. And but so that's the very reason why you would ask a question like this. We're still yet in a pandemic, not so much as we used to be, or I guess that depends on who you ask. And so the thing that actually the pandemic impacts that specifically, because there's even churches today that still aren't really meeting for congregational service on Sunday. There's a lot of people doing virtual stuff and meeting online and stuff like that. And I'll go ahead and tell you, do not allow the pandemic to cause you to abandon, meeting with God's people and fellowship. Now, of course, you have to do that the right way. You have to do it in safety, with the right protocols. But just like the Bible says, neglect not to assemble yourselves together with one another, the believers. And so don't allow the pandemic to make you just exclude yourself away from meeting people physically. But at the same time, I wholeheartedly embrace technology. I think technology is a marvelous, amazing thing that they didn't have in times past, but it empowers us as human beings now. You can meet with people all over the world without even leaving your house. And I say, if your faith and confidence is still building, as far as, by his stripes we are healed, to understand with confidence and wisdom that when Jesus went to the cross, he paid for our sins, and he's made us immune to illness, sickness, and disease. If you're still not fully aware of that, or how that works, or you don't believe that, or you don't have a lot of faith in that, then I would encourage you to utilize technology, utilize social media, utilize digital platforms to have community. Even people who live locally to you, if you can meet with them digitally through Zoom calls, if local churches offer young adult ministry meetings or different kinds of people group meetings via Zoom or some other kind of service where you can have video conferencing, that's actually shouldn't be optional for you if you're single. You should actually look to do this stuff with a great, be intentional about it. And if you don't have that kind of stuff available to you, then reach out to us. We may be able to point you in the right direction for stuff like that, or start your own. I encourage people to start their own. Don't think that you have to always find someone doing something. Where did these things come from? So that you can find someone had to start them. So don't shy away from organizing, and we're humans. We're more empowered than ever to go out and do our own thing. We're streaming live right now on doing a live Q&A. You can start local community meetings via Zoom or in different things and publish it online, publish it on Facebook, stuff like that. But the idea is we don't want to abandon the Christian community as the best way to meet our spouse. And when I say the best way to meet our spouse, I don't just mean you go to a community and the only thing you're interested in is meeting your spouse. Is just a bunch of people joining up trying to examine each other romantically. No, I mean you just go and have community. You go and do life together. You laugh, you enjoy yourself. You talk about the things that matter most to you, because I won't get into that yet. But Christian community allows you to do so many things. It allows you to learn who these people are. It allows you to establish a powerful friendship relationship. It allows you to form all the things that need to be in place in order for a healthy, powerful, romantic love to spark, if that's what naturally is going to happen between two people. You're giving that time and opportunity to examine one another without the pressures of some implied romantic ambition, without the pressures of any of that happening prematurely. And I guess that's pretty much the answer to that question. You know, you want to utilize technology during this pandemic. You want to utilize technology to meet up, and don't abandon the Christian community as the best way of meeting your spouse. And if you want to know more about that, just ask. But also, if you have that confidence, if you do understand that by His stripes we are healed, which means you are immune to illness, sickness, and disease by when Jesus went to the cross and when Jesus took those stripes on His body. If you're confident in that and you're that kind of Christian, then by all means, go to the public places, go to wherever Christian communities are meeting up and have community.
Sure. And ladies, if you check out our playlist on the Becoming Irresistible channel, there is a playlist, Secrets to Meeting Your Future Husband, I believe it's called, and there are some videos on there that give you some more information about meeting in the Christian community, different ways to do it, different techniques and ideas that might help you out. So this actually brings us to our second question. You said utilizing technology. So a lot of Christian women may be utilizing technology in this way. So the question is, what are your thoughts about Christian online dating, since we have to do a lot more virtual interactions with this pandemic?
Online dating, and when I say online dating, I mean going to one of the dating services online, eHarmony, I don't even know what they are anymore, Match.com, Christian Mingle, all these services,
Tinder,
you know, so there's many ways to do anything. But if you're asking for advice, you're not asking someone, you don't want to ask someone for what is a way to do it, because they can give you a million ways of doing so many things. You don't want to know that. You want to know what's the best way of doing something, because you don't want to waste your time. You don't want to go through unnecessary stress and suffer unnecessary failures and mistakes. You want to know what's the best way of doing something. So we strongly believe that online dating, it is a way of getting it done. It's a way of meeting your spouse or meeting people, but it's not the best way. And here's why. Online dating, if you happen to meet someone you like and you go and you meet up with them physically, it's just, there's no way you can know who this person is via their profile. I think some high-end dating services now, people can actually post videos of themselves, so that's much better than it used to be. But understand, when you're meeting someone, you're meeting their representative. You're not meeting them, you're meeting who they want you to see. There's no way you can know who this person actually is. So that already introduces a great risk when you're going to go and meet someone from that. Even if you have an online dating service that allows you to talk to them on the phone before you meet them, which is much safer, you still don't know who this person is. And so that's the first thing. You're exposing yourself to great risk of your own, endangering your own personal safety, risk of meeting someone and getting involved with someone who may not at all be the kind of person that you would ever expose yourself to, and end up getting tempted to do different things that you would have never found yourself doing had this person not come in your life, and you've been exposed to this because of the way online dating works. And so, I want to remember the different parts of this that I want to address. So it's not only that, but if you do happen to meet a sweet person and they check out, maybe you met them on the phone first and it all checks out, or you even met them in person and just by some chance it checks out and they are a decent person and everything's fine. Just the sheer pressure of having the implication of romance when you're just meeting a person, meaning your pressure to evaluate someone as to whether you want to be romantically involved with them at the moment of meeting them. That is the the reason why you're meeting them. That causes a relationship to accelerate prematurely, which causes a lot of problems. It causes a lot of temptation for sin. When a community is not involved, it takes the pressure off. If a community is involved and when you're around a person, they can actually talk to more than just you. It takes the pressure off of two people to be evaluating each other romantically before they even know each other as friends. The greatest breeding ground, the most fertile ground for a profound, long-lasting love to be produced is upon a strong friendship. When two people meet in a community and are able to learn each other and evaluate each other with no pressure, no implied romance at all, and they're just learning who they are as human beings. They're being given the opportunity of time to examine each other by the Spirit and perceive who each other are, even in the faith. They're given time to learn to appreciate one another in a deep and a profound way that goes far beyond just their physical appearance. Okay, and even time also gives you the ability to examine them physically, because that's important too. And there's no implication of romance. And if they're supposed to, if they have this romance between each other, then it will naturally develop, and it'll be stronger than just two people meeting up and in like a day to a week they decide they want to be romantic. There's just a lot that you could never know about a person in like a week of knowing them. And a lot of online dating relationships become romantic within a week of meeting each other. And I think that that's very premature. And I believe that it just causes, it puts stress on the people. It accelerates a relationship prematurely into romance. And it doesn't give them the time to examine each other the way that you should and learn each other as a friend, the way that you should, to birth true, long-lasting love, God's kind of love that you should have for one another. So that's why I don't recommend online dating. You can certainly do it that way. That is not a way that I would ever teach, or this ministry will ever teach anyone to use online dating in that way. Now, this is not to say you can't use digital means to have relationship. It's just saying that the way that online dating services work is not healthy. It does not foster or guarantee a successful Christian relationship. But you can use online digital services, technology, to have relationship. Like certainly, like during the pandemic, I just mentioned before, if you find a local community, a Christian community, that they have meetings on Zoom, or you form one yourself, and they have conversations and meetings, group meetings on Zoom. This is not always amazingly ideal the way that Zoom works. It can have very poor image quality, and sometimes there's a lot of lag in the video. But if disregarding all that, it is possible to have relationships through digital means. Now, but the community part is important, to be more than just one-on-one. That's the key. That's the issue with online dating. It's one-on-one, and then it's premature romance. Those are two main issues with online dating. And then also there's the whole risk of exposing yourself to a stranger. So, was that a two-part question?
No.
Okay. So, online dating bad. Don't go that direction. You could expose yourself to a lot of risk, a lot of stress, and so in person is much better. Even if you use digital means, you can do that nowadays with technology. So.
Alrighty, so ladies, we just want to encourage you, if you have a question, a specific question, go ahead and type that in the comments. And like I was saying, if you're watching this in a playback and you still have a question, go ahead and also add that in the comments, and we can get to that in a future live Q&A. But right now, you can use a live chat
or a comment,
questions.
or a comment, or objection. If you don't agree, feel free.
Yeah, sure. Alrighty, so the next question is, when a man is looking for a wife, will he recognize her by the Spirit, or does her physical appearance play a large role?
Okay, so if a human being sees another human being, and he's immediately able to know whether or not this person is going to be significant to him in his life, and just immediately. That's a supernatural thing. Okay, God is not saying that everybody who comes in your life, if they're going to be significant to you, you will know immediately. That's actually a spiritual gift, or it's similar to several spiritual gifts. A word of knowledge, a word of wisdom. Sometimes the Holy Spirit will give you a sense about things. If you have that gift, or if you flow in that operation, then that's great. But not everybody does that. So I wouldn't give that as advice, as far as everyone needs to be able to, see the future or read minds. Because the reality is not everybody's just going to be able to do that. And it's also to try to say that you're going to need a miracle like that in order to meet your spouse. That's actually kind of a little bit lazy. And it's a little bit it's like it's an exaggeration of what happens when you meet the one. Like, I see these thumbnails of certain videos on YouTube, just trying to sensationalize Christian relationships, and it's really they're trying to get clicks. I'm not saying that's for every YouTube channel I see, but they say stuff like 10 things that happen to you when you meet the one, or you're in their presence, and like you have some sort of chemical change and your eye color changes, or you get 2 inches taller, like just crazy stuff. And God bless them, but a lot of it is just they're trying to glamorize things, they're trying to get clicks, and it's really, really an exaggeration. Because the bottom line, 9 times out of 10, unless you have a spiritual gift like that, when you meet someone and they're the one that you're going to marry, or you just don't know. You don't know, and you won't know. But I will say, the first thing you see is the physical. Of course, when you first meet a person, a man meets a woman meets a man, you first see the physical. And it's in a matter of minutes, maybe even shorter than that, men especially, because they're very visual, can perceive whether this person is physically compatible with you, if you find them physically appealing. And yes, I'm talking sexually appealing. And when we use the word sexually appealing, we're not talking about intercourse. We're not talking about looking with lust or being raunchy like that. We're talking about human beings are sexual creatures. That means a component of their psychology is sexuality. Now, we control that sexuality. We put that sexuality in its place so it doesn't run wild and violate God's word. But a component of your psychology is sexual. So that component of you is what responds to an appealing or attractive person of the opposite sex. A man to a woman to a man. And it's natural, it's supposed to happen. So you're able to immediately perceive if you are physically interested in someone. If they look in such a way where it's someone who you would want to spend the rest of your life with, as far as how they look. And vice versa. You can know within seconds, not seconds, but a minute or less, whether someone is not attractive to that degree to you. And so that's the first thing you see. Make no mistake about it. That is the first thing men see. This first thing women see. And some people are more sensitive to that than others. Some people disregard it entirely. I think that's more of a rare individual. But then when you start to spend time with someone, that's when you can begin to perceive them by the Spirit. That's what, based on what they say, their behavior, how they act, how they respond to the topics of the Bible, what they say about Jesus, how they treat others. You can begin to perceive the spirit of the person. And you can begin to perceive what kind of personality they have, who they are as far as their identity. And this is the knowledge that you begin to get down the stretch as time goes on. So no, I don't think most people, and that's an understatement, most people will not be able to perceive by the Spirit or some power if someone is their spouse, their future spouse, just by coming and walking into their presence and having some spiritual gift that allows them to understand. But you need to read the signs that God does give us. Are you physically attracted to this person? who is this person in the spirit? Who is this person personality-wise? A lot of people just get caught up in their physical appearance and they neglect all those other things. Maybe some people, a lot less people, maybe disregard the physical altogether and just get wrapped up into, oh, he's really nice, or, just showy, impressive components of one's personality. Oh, he's a strong man, he's very confident. And they just kind of, you don't ever want to have a lopsided focus, whether it's the sexuality or the different components of their psychology that maybe reminds you of your dad and you had a strong relationship with your father and so you always wanted a nice man. You need to look at the full spectrum of who this individual is, because not only could you be caught with a gotcha, end up in a relationship with this person, and you've disregarded entire portions of who they are that you have no interest in, that it's a total deal breaker, and you just looked over it. You don't want to do that. And I forgot there was another flip side to that, but I forgot what I was going to say. You don't want to overlook things. You want to look at everything. You want to look at, yes, that's the other component. You want to look at the full package, physically and psychologically and spiritually. Because if you end up with a person, you have to love them entirely. Don't make it hard on yourself to uphold your vow before God, to love them for better or for worse and all that stuff, because you disregarded something and it's giving you trouble in marriage because you don't love that about them. You didn't consider that before you were married. So yeah.
That's good. Okay, next question is, let's see here. Oh, okay, this one is good for the women. I've heard this come up a lot. I even had this question when I was single. So the Bible says that a man that finds a wife finds a good thing. So should a woman wait for a man to approach her, or should she approach him?
There is no rules when it comes to that. I know a lot of women, it's more so preference. A lot of women prefer to do nothing or to do very little and have the man just pursue them. They want to feel like the man just pursues them. And I think that's more of a feminine thing, so I'm not against that. It's, when it comes to relationships, it's all about what you really want, as long as it's within reason, as long as it's godly. It's all about what you really prefer. If you prefer a man to pursue you in that way, understand you could be secluding yourself from a lot of great men by trying to make it happen that one way. Understand that. But if that's what you have to have, then that's what you have to have. And then, because there's no rule from the Bible, there's no rule. That scripture that says, a man that findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtain favor from the Lord. That's like if I were to say, if you go into a candy store and you find your favorite treat, you find a good thing. That's not to say that, you're just mentioning one thing. It's not to say that it has to happen that way. If you might find yourself in a situation where you meet a guy as a friend, you meet a guy as a friend, and you both just kind of grow mutually interested in each other together, and you can't really see or know who started to become interested before who. They just both grew in their relationship, and they started to become interested in each other together, and that's a beautiful thing. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no rule that says the woman just has to be totally, it's got to be completely one-sided, and this guy's just coming after her, and she finally just gives in. Some people want it that way, but it's not the way that it has to happen. And I want, women don't get into a mindset where it has to happen in one way, because you could be missing out on a lot of great men, or the one, and he's just not the kind of guy that's going to do that. I know there's a lot of men nowadays, especially, where there's so much sexual harassment, there's so much rejection, there's so much stuff. They don't want to risk having their affections rebuffed, or a lot of reasons why they just won't do that today. And so be open to, even for women that want to want to be pursued, there's certain ways that you can passively pursue, that you should, in order to make things work. See, if there's a man that is sought after, a man that's valuable, a man that women should want, then there's gonna be some competition a lot of times. So if you're the woman who's just, you don't want to do anything, they have to come and get you. You don't want to miss out that way. So when I'm talking about passive ways to pursue, just making yourself available, just being approachable, being nice, being kind, being interested in the other person. And I don't mean romantically, I mean just on a human level. Like if you heard one time that when their birthday was, and it just so happens their birthday came around a few days later, you can, buy them something small, something that is not, you didn't have to go out of your way. It's something to show that you know they exist. You appreciate them. You're creating opportunities. When a man sees that a woman notices him or regards him, respects his existence, it makes him notice her. It's a mutual noticing. And you can't help but notice if someone remembers your birthday or something significant like that. So even if it's not something where you're trying to, actively pursue, just being available, being approachable, being sociable, being kind, being nice. These are passive ways of pursuing without, just walking up and say, I'm interested, da-da-dee, and all that kind of stuff. I don't think anyone should ever do that. I think that kind of thing should develop naturally. I think two people should be friends until it's just like, hey, you know what? I really like you a lot. And then they know the feeling's mutual because they spend enough time around each other to know where this thing is going, and it just happens. And they both take that step together. Now, someone has to physically, verbalize that, but it's like a natural progression. It's not so jarring. The man has no lack of confidence behind that. There's all this pressure that keeps a man from approaching a woman romantically if he's not her friend first. But if he's her friend, and they're really good friends, and they, when you're in a relationship with someone, you know how much you guys mutually appreciate each other. There is nearly no pressure if they have that relationship for him to say, you know what, I want to take this thing a step forward. And that is the beauty of having a romance grow out of a friendship. But yeah.
And I wanted to just add to that, if you all ladies, if you remember the story of Ruth and Boaz, just based on some of the questions that have been answered, they were in a Christian community together, so they had time to get to know each other and get familiar with each other. But if you remember, Ruth is the one who approached Boaz boldly. She laid before his feet in a proposal for marriage. Now, I don't recommend doing that specific thing, proposing to a man for marriage, but what she did was she made it known that she was interested in him. And when she did that, he had an opportunity to respond either positively or negatively. But he didn't approach her previously because there was a reason why. He wasn't the next in line. He was not Ruth's kinsman redeemer. He wasn't next in line to get her. There was another relative that was next in line. So he could not overstep those boundaries, which is why he didn't approach her. So there was a reason why she wasn't approached by him. He may have wanted to, but he couldn't. So when he found out that she was interested, he had to get permission from the elders to see if it was okay, and the kinsman redeemer to see, hey, I'm interested. Can I overstep this boundary, and can I be next in line for Ruth instead of you? And that's how it happened. So sometimes there are reasons you may not understand why is this man not approaching you. But for that particular biblical situation, that was the case.
Yeah. And I just want to remind you guys, the viewers, you want to support these Christian things, the things that Christians are doing out here in the world, that as long as they're sound, as long as they're helping people, you listen to what they're doing and it's actually on point, it's actually really helping. You want to support those with your whole heart, because you got to think about how much media and content is out there. You have a lot of I don't want to say like the devil's content. You got a lot of stuff that is teaching people things that have nothing to do with faith, that have nothing to do with the Bible. They're giving them a mindset that is not God's mindset, a mindset, a worldview that is not going to serve them well in their life. And it's not just affecting people who aren't saved, it's affecting Christians too, because when they go out in the world, that's all that's there, and it's influencing their soul whether they know it or not. So we want more Christian content. We want to support those who are teaching the best, who are really helping people out there. So when you stumble upon this live stream, go tell a friend, drop a link on your family text chain, send a link to your Christian youth group, send a link to a coworker or someone who you know could use this, because there are people out there, there's Christian singles in the world that want to be married, that don't really know how it's going to happen, and it's been a while. They don't know what they are doing wrong. And then there's some people that are like, I could be married, but I don't, I know it'll happen at some point and stuff like that. And I know where that path leads. To be that kind of person for years, to think, I know God's going to do it, and this, that, and the third. And then they end up getting married a lot later than they would have liked. And they end up having kind of issues that they never thought they would have. This ministry is all about avoiding those things. And so, you want to get the most out of it. So if you do have a question that is not related to the questions that are being asked, just drop a line right there. The message, the live chat. There's a message box. It's called Top Chat. Just drop your questions right there, or your comments. Whatever you want to know. I don't care what it is.
Yeah, even if you're watching the playback and the live chat isn't available for you to comment on, just go ahead and drop a comment in the normal comments, and we like to interact with you guys, so definitely get back to you.
Yeah, we'll definitely get back to you. Yeah, so go ahead.
All right, so the next question is, we may have kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'll ask it anyway. So why are so many Christian men passive when it comes to approaching a woman romantically?
Christian men, I understand why some people think that. If you did grow up in the church, and you were part of a youth group, or you were part of a young adult ministry, it does seem like Christian men aren't, especially those who are really, really full of the word. They're not go-getters. Some of them, or it seems that way when it comes to like romance. Like, so if there's young women who are around them, who they've known for years, or just a lot of eligible women who are around them, it's like they will never just speak up and make that move. And it seems that way, but it's not as prevalent as it might seem to some people, and also there is a reason for that. And so the idea is, a Christian man is going to be more wise than the average man. They think about what they do before they do it. If there is a young lady in his presence that he does like, he's not going to just rush in and trying to start up a romance. He's going to think about what are the risks involved with starting this relationship with this person. And so after much thought, that's when they're going to make their move. Now, what women have to understand is you can accelerate that. You can accelerate them doing that. You have much influence on them, more than you could ever know. Women wield so much power that they don't really seem to be aware of. Just by noticing him a lot, just by being nice and kind and remembering his birthday, or just little things like that, complimenting him. When he starts to think about, I want to be married or whatever like that, you're going to be the person on his mind. That's going to make him feel comfortable to approach you. Just being approachable, being sociable, And some people do have very strong social Christian community, but the guys still don't speak up and everything like that. So there is balance to this, because I will say some Christian men do have this thing where it's just a fear they have. It's a social fear and an anxiety, but that's on their side of the fence. That's something as a man that they have to get rid of, that they have to be delivered from, or grow out of, or get the wisdom of God applied to them in their life where they can be freed from. And I'll speak to men. If any man listens to this, you can be free from social anxiety. I used to deal with social anxiety, and a lot of it. Um, social anxiety is comes from being way too self-conscious, way too aware of yourself. It almost is like a selfishness or a self-centeredness. You think too much about yourself. Don't think so much about yourself. Don't put yourself so high to where it's like you just can't be embarrassed. You would just crawl into a hole and this. If anything happened that embarrassed you or tarnished your reputation, you just couldn't take it. Who are you? You tripped and fell in front of 5 people. Who cares? If they laugh, it's natural to laugh. If I saw it happen, I probably would have laughed too. I'm just a guy. You know what? And if I say something to you and you don't like me and you embarrass me, God loves me. So God cares a lot about me. He thought enough about me to send his son Jesus to die for me. So who cares what this particular person in this particular place thinks about me? When God is the one who loves me enough to die for me, and I know he has a great plan for me, so it doesn't matter what you think or how you feel, and I can just move right on and ask the next girl if that's what I want to do. So there is freedom that some men need to experience, and some men who are thinkers, who don't just dive into stuff, they can be tempted to have this thing where it can come off passive, and they don't, and it's fear. It's fear of being rejected. It's fear of what people think about them. And that's something that they have to be delivered from, and it comes from just growing in your closeness to God, growing in your closeness to Jesus, because the Holy Spirit makes people bold. It doesn't make people more meek and shy. He makes people bold. The Bible says the righteous are as bold as lions. And if you like a girl, now you need to make sure. You need to make sure of your feelings. That's why a group environment is so important. You need to befriend people, have a relationship, do life together, get to know someone. But once you're sure, make your move with all the confidence of a lion, because God has put every bit of worth inside of you. And if someone doesn't see it, then they're not deserving of you. They're not worthy of you. The one that deserves you and is worthy of you, they see every bit of what God put inside of you, and they cherish it. So there's no reason to be, shy or fearful. But what women can do is just be approachable, be kind, be nice, make yourself available, be sociable, and you drop those walls that they might have.
Yep. Okay. Our next question. You kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'm going to ask it anyway in case anything else comes to mind. What are some of the best ways a woman can let a man know she's interested? She's interested. You said be kind and remember his birthday and things like that. Is there anything else you can think of that they can consider?
Men, there's 2 huge things that affect men when it comes to considering the woman he wants to marry, or there's 2 huge things that women can do that in godliness, not stuff that people in the world might do that's inappropriate or sinful. I mean, appropriate things. There's 2 powerful things that women can do, and if they learn how to do these 2 things well, you know the name of this channel, Irresistible.
Becoming
absolutely
irresistible,
irresistible to the right man of God. The first thing is know how to respect a man the right way. And the second thing is to, how would I say this? How do I say this? To be very appealing. When I say appealing, I'm talking about if you read Esther in the Bible. They were training those women how to be as appealing as possible to the king. And it had to do with the way that they looked, the way that they dressed, even down to the way that they act. And I'm not talking about just being sensual. I'm not talking about being, lustful or whatever like that. I'm talking about there's a way that women can act and hold themselves that just light a man's soul on fire. Just being very feminine, being very, beautiful. I'm not talking about being high maintenance. Women that carry a natural beauty that I'm not even sure if they're aware of. You don't have to put all the makeup in the world on and wear $1 million dress, but just by caring about the way that you look and putting it together, um, that counts. That weighs extremely heavy in a man's mind. Every time he sees you, you are on point. It's like, wow, it really, really affects them. And that and the respect thing, that is so powerful. It's like it turns a switch in their mind where that woman automatically becomes top of the charts in their mind when he's ready to, you know. And what was the question again? I want to make sure I'm answering it correctly.
What are some of the best ways a woman can let a man know she's interested?
Right. So if a woman wants to let a man know that she's interested, she should do it in the way that is going to be appealing to him. If she does it any kind of way, he'll know that you're interested. But your goal is not just to let him know you're interested. You want to let him know you're interested in an appealing way, so he won't rebuff your affections. So he'll feel happy that you're interested. You know, some young lady who's contentious, who just doesn't know how to respect anybody. He's seen her yelling at other people. You know, he knows how short-tempered she is. If she comes and lets him know that she's interested, like in some kind of like forward way, like she sends her friend to tell him, so what's up? She's interested, you know, what are you going to do? My friend is interested, da, da, da. And she's like, well, why didn't she come? And she comes over there and she's like all loud. So I like you. So you knew that for a long time, da, da, da. The man is not going to respond correctly to that. And the reason why is it's not appealing to him. It's not appealing. It's actually bad news that she's interested in him. It might be kind of funny because this young lady who just doesn't know how to be respectful, she's interested in him. He's like, wow, I didn't know that but it's not going to be appealing to him. He's not going to care that she's interested. You want them to care that you're interested. You want them to be like, to respond to that and appreciate the fact that you're interested and actually feel grateful that you're interested. So you want to let them know that you're interested in an appealing way. So you want to be doing things that show him that you respect him, that you regard his existence. Like, you put him in high regard. Like, remember stuff that he said that no one else remembers. You were listening, and bring it up later. And that'll weigh heavily in his heart. Like, wow, she was listening. I didn't know if anybody in here was listening. And she was listening. She remembered what I said. Actually get to know him. Actually get to know him and get to know things about him so that when stuff goes down, let me think. Yeah, like remembering his birthday. So, he's just, and I'm envisioning a Christian community when I'm giving this advice. So if you happen to see him on his birthday, you just give him this thing, and you don't have to go get some big, huge, expensive gift. But the fact that you remembered his birthday, he's like, wow, that weighs heavily. And just by making sure that you present yourself physically appealing in terms of how you dress and carry yourself, those are the two biggest things. And when you make sure you put your best foot forward around him, he notices that, and that makes men know that you're interested. I had friends before I was married, young ladies who did stuff like this, and it was letting me know that they were interested. One other thing that is not as powerful, but it is powerful to let a man know that you're interested, is to allow yourself to have long conversations with him. Sometimes women, if they like a man, that's the very guy that they will avoid. But that's the last thing you want to do, is to have this like very, very distant relationship with the guy that you like. Just let down. Stop acting like it has to be so much like the movies, and stop trying to be so cool. Just be a real person and hold real conversations with them, and that'll pay dividends. Be on the first name basis. Talk more to him than anyone else does. Like real conversations beyond just, be available, be approachable. You can even start conversations with him. These a woman being willing to spend time with a man and have actual conversations and actually wanting to do that, that lets him know that she likes him as well. So
That's good. Take notes, ladies. Take good notes. Alrighty, so next question. What are some red flags a woman should look out for in a man where she should not proceed with him romantically? This can be there could be a lot of these, and it's different for every scenario and situation. But are there anything that stands out in your mind? Some common red flags a woman should be aware of. Like, say she likes someone, she wants to proceed with him romantically, but she sees things. What do you suggest she look out for?
what should she look out for as red flags?
Yeah, what are some red flags a woman should look out for in a man where she should not proceed with him romantically?
Well, I presume a lot of women already know the answers to that question, but I will give you some insightful things from a male's perspective of things that maybe a woman won't know to look out for. Okay. You want a man who is not short-tempered, and a man that respects women. A man who's going to honor you no matter who he's in front of, and is going to treat you right no matter how mad he gets or whatever the situation is. And only a God-fearing man is going to be guaranteed to do that. A man who truly regards God, and at the end of the day, there's things he will not do because he believes God is watching him, ultimately. When his dad's not there, when his mom's not there, when no one's there to discipline him, when he's a grown man on his own, it's God who is watching him. So that is governing his actions, the code of ethics, the moral standards that he keeps. Because when you're with a man, you are at his mercy. It is God alone who could protect you when you have chosen a husband if he's not the right man. And so that's why one of the reasons it's so important for women to pay attention to those red flags. And so I would say you need to get around him with his mom and his sister.
Yes.
And his aunts. Every woman in his life that's close to him. If he has close friends, you need to get around the females in his life and see how he interacts with them, especially his mom and sisters, the one who he spends the most time around. And you need to spend extensive time around him when he's with his mom and sisters. And if he doesn't respect them correctly, if he doesn't treat them right, if there's certain things that they do that he just starts to yell at them, or outbursts of anger, you need to run as fast as you can away from that man. Because he's nice now, but when he gets familiar with you, he gets you alone, and y'all have been married for a little while, the real him is going to come out. He's not going to be patient. He's not going to be kind. He's not going to be charming. He's going to be short-tempered. He's going to be abusive. So you need to pay attention to that. If a man doesn't treat the women in his life right, the women who are closest to him, that's a huge red flag. And I don't have to tell you about all the other red flags. A red flag is a man who doesn't treasure the things of God. A man who doesn't have a desire for God's word. A man who doesn't appreciate the things of God, who doesn't hold them in high regard in his mind. He doesn't talk a great deal about the things of God. He doesn't care very much. For a Christian woman, these should be big, big red flags, because he needs to. I'm not saying you need to, just get away from him. I'm saying he's not ready to be with you in a relationship. He needs to mature in his faith. He needs to grow before he wants to be in a relationship. So, is there any other signs? The obvious ones. The obvious ones of if he says he's a Christian, but you bring him around. It's another reason it's very important to meet people in a Christian community, because you can have a community examine him, and you'll see how he interacts with other Christians, as far as to understand if he's actually a Christian, or is he someone who's saying he's a Christian to try to just get close to you. And that will become very apparent inside of a Christian community, because there's things that he won't. It's going to stick out like a sore thumb. It's one thing if someone is sincere and they're trying to learn. There's another thing if they don't really care and they're just trying to put on airs. They're trying to put on an act just to keep up an appearance to reach a goal. And all those things are laid bare within the confines of a Christian community. So
That's good. That's good.
Well,
Anything else?
how much time do we have?
We're gonna probably spend about roughly close to an hour. We're trying to keep it at about an hour, so we can probably take one more question, or we can maybe do a part 2.
We'll take one more question and we'll do a part 2. We want you guys to really, if this has helped you out, and I hope it has, because we haven't had any questions asked or any comments made. I hope you guys know how to use the message box. But if someone could just use the message box to let me know that it works, I just want to make sure that it works. Just send a hello. Just send out a hello. I want to make sure you guys, it's visible, it's there, and it actually works. Because we've never had anyone use our message box yet, just to let you know.
This is our first live stream, so we've got to see it in action.
So if you could just send a hello.
Yeah, on the live chat, you'll see underneath the video, you should see a live chat option. You can click that, and you should be able to type in there and say something. You can just say, hey.
So as we wait on them to do that, we're gonna answer one more question, and then we're probably gonna have a part 2.
Yeah, because there's a lot more to cover.
And
so.
we're going to send out a post, because we want you guys to write some questions. We're going to send out a post on our YouTube channel for you all to fill in and ask some questions that you want us to answer for the part 2. Otherwise, we are going to continue with the questions that we have. So go ahead and ask the question while we wait on that. Someone can just send out a hello.
Okay. You kind of touched on this already, actually. You can skip by it quickly and go to the next question if you already covered it enough. The question is, where are some of the best places a woman can go to meet Christian men outside of church? I'm not saying you shouldn't meet them in church, but outside of church, if there are none there.
As far as meeting men outside of a church, it's nothing wrong with that. You can meet a man in any normal place that you would be. But what I'm talking about is, when you meet a man, it should never be romantic. You should never allow romantic ambitions to flow through you to a high level when you're just first meeting a man or a stranger just in public out somewhere. Because if you allow that and you act upon it, you start to make decisions and pursue things that are of a romantic ambition with someone that you don't know, as a stranger. That is a recipe for disaster. Absolute disaster. And if you're a person that's vulnerable to that, just disallow yourself. If you're vulnerable to be susceptible to, hello Sherry Reed, we got our first hello.
Hey! Thanks. It works.
Yeah, so it works. But if you're a person that's susceptible to being tempted to do romantic things with someone, if they're attractive enough and they're just a stranger, just disallow yourself from meeting random men in places, and just confine yourself to only meeting new people as far as you can help it. You don't have to try to be militant about it, but confine yourself to only meeting new people within the confines of a Christian community, because it could be very detrimental. It can be very, very risky, but also a big temptation to someone who is susceptible to that. But yeah, you can meet Christian men in the same places wherever you would be. But if I were to list some places you would likely meet a Christian man, you just have to think about what a Christian man does. What do Christian men do that are specific to them versus any other human being on the planet? Christian men are going to be in a Christian community. They're going to be hanging out either at the church or at another site of Christian community. If it's a Christian community that meets somewhere else, they're going to go to Christian concerts. They're going to be at events that host Christian leaders, speakers. Basically, the kind of events that you as a Christian woman would want to be, they are going to be there as well. And so, that's how you would meet them. But yeah, it's pretty much that simple.
Yeah, I have one more thing to add to that question. If you consider, a lot of men even Christian men are into sports, okay? So there are some churches that put together different like athletic teams, like flag football, basketball, things like this. Now I'm talking Christian themed, not just regular secular ones, because you'll meet all kind of men that you don't want to get involved with in those particular environments. But if you consider different Christian sports leagues, you're most likely going to be able to meet some good Christian men, and there's going to be a lot of them. So consider that, because that's still technically a Christian community. It's a group of Christians coming together for a sport, but they're coming together, and they're probably possibly praying before the match or whatever they're playing. But that's a good way to get around a lot of Christian men at one time and possibly build a relationship and friendship with these guys too. It's not specifically a ministry involvement, but that's my 2 cents. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified when our videos are posted. Hit that like button for us, and in the meantime, go ahead and watch this video next.